So my topic is geography. Many of you know I'm a geography major and environmental studies major, so my title is It's a Small World, How Geographical Competition Interconnects. Right here we have just a picture of how conflicting it is, and you have nature, and you have industrial developments, and you have right here skyscrapers and homes, suburbs. Okay, so I'm really concerned about climate change. That's something that Adam mentioned before in his presentation last week, but climate change is something that's happening today and it's happening right now. So global change is causing sea levels to rise, it's causing destruction of habitats for species, and billions of dollars spent on preventing damage. For example, we have a lot of natural disasters around because of global climate change. And this is causing a lot of us to be worried because how are we going to protect our citizens and how are we going to prevent it from happening again? So we also have, for another example, building seawalls. Because of the sea level rise, we're going to have to build seawalls, which is currently a concern for Venice right now. Venice is thinking of building these seawalls because the water is rising and it is going to damage so much property, billions of dollars of property. And so the questions I want to ask is, how do countries around the world combat this environmental crisis together? It's happening right now, right here, and it's definitely a fact, so how are we going to combat it? And to what extent should humans respond to this concern? Okay, so the culture of competition. How does geography relate to our HIA topic of culture of competition? Here I have a lot of questions that I want to explore. How has access to resources like water, fossil fuels, land create complicated relationships between regions and countries? We know that obviously we are fighting for oil. We are fighting for a lot of fossil fuels right now, and that's causing conflicts between regions and countries around the world. And water, right now the Colorado River is almost completely dried out, and California, New Mexico, Arizona is fighting for that little water that's left, and we all know that without water we can't survive. So what are we going to do? How do we combat this, and how does this create complicated relationships? Where in the world do we see competition for resources causing conflict? We see that in the Middle East in the news today. There's a lot of fighting for oil, petroleum, all these resources that everybody depends on. How does the lack of resources drive technological innovation and competition between humans? It does in the fact that we are trying to combat this problem. We're creating new sources of energy, renewable energy. Therefore, that is driving technological innovation between businesses and companies, and of course, human intellect. How does geographic location limit or create competition? If you guys have heard of Qatar, it used to be one of the poorest places in the world. It was just it was primarily fishing, and they were the leading poorest country. And now it is one of the most thriving, has the highest GDP in terms of that side of the world. And it's been thriving, and there's great industry, the economics is booming, and it's because it has resources. That resource is oil, and 85% of their GDP comes from the oil that they have. And they're expected to be able to provide for the next 23 years. That's a huge deal. Okay, now future plans towards sustainability. What can we do to reduce our footprint? Those are some questions I want to ask. Less dependence on fossil fuels, getting new sustainable practices and energy, change our culture, environmental practices, and ultimately our behavior. And lastly, why and how is geography interconnected? It comes down to all of this, resource scarcity. So we have food scarcity, competition between cultures.
Sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
I don't think anyone more than me was enjoying that presentation.
Thank you.
So through our time constraint though, maybe Terry sort of fire off a 30-second quick question to Stephanie, and make sure to copy it down as well. At least one person have that, and we'll pass them on down afterwards. All right. Daphne, Professor Meyer, would you be?
Well, beyond educational outreach, what would be a meaningful college project that we can do? Like an activity that would be fun for everyone and really inviting.
What we have for you is, what niche do you want us to go in? Because it's a very, very broad and beautiful topic. Where would you want us to sort of focus and make ourselves a little bit more different and unique?
Since that's what we came up with as well, I'll ask my question. This is different. I think we know the answer to this already, but I asked, can the competition between nations caused by global warming ruin relationships or build bonds between countries? Are they fighting over resources, or are they unifying to fix a problem? And we already know the answer for that one, but it'd still be kind of interesting.
Kevin, did you have anything?
No, it's okay.
All right.
I'll then fill that void and say, wow, imagine us reading a book together, like Thomas Friedman's Hot, Flat, and Crowded, in which he argues that the country that really does progress with energy policies that are sustainable and responsible will likely achieve greater economic and political power and influence in the world. But Nathan brings up that dichotomy, why we're not doing that and why the reverse is happening.
All right, well, we'll begin our transition. Any other volunteers or